Hey, what's going on, guys? We are back, and today we have 25 scariest backrooms found footage. But chills, let's get into it.
Backrooms is a term describing a liminal space in which an individual becomes trapped, a transitional world between what was and what will be, one that we are only meant to pass through, but in which some unlucky players remain. In the backrooms, you are stuck in the in-between. Let's get stuck in the scariest rooms of Backrooms found footage. Number 25, Crawling Creature. Do You Hear That? Published by The Bob in March of 2022. I feel the elephant trumpeting sound makes this video especially memorable. After creeping around the standard yellow hallway, the player arrives at a light built into the floor. He later enters an air shaft. He crawls through and arrives at a room with arrows. These arrows direct him to graffiti on the wall that reads, "No clip zone, this is real." It also points to the exit, and this player should take it right about now.
Nah. Exit is different for everybody. That's how you get to the exit.
The player seems to lose the crawling monster at some moments, only for the sound to get louder again, and then this climbs out from the ceiling. Give up, there's no escape. Number 24, The Chase. You're thrown into the action of this backroom straight away, which makes it especially terrifying. Published by Frag2, the player is racing toward the exit as he's being chased by something so far unseen. Then he turns around. A giant spider-like creature is on his tail. Its many...
Oh, yeah. This is that level where you have to run a 10-kilometer hallway, get out of this room. Once you get into this room, you start being chased by an insane amount of different creatures. All want to kill you, so your only option is to run 10 kilometers. I'm not sure how many miles that is, but you have to run that shit. Pray that you survive that.
Legs skittering mechanically after him. A siren goes off in the background.
Oh, he comes here.
The spider crashes against the wall, giving the player a bit more leeway to escape. He makes it to the exit, slamming the door behind him. But compared to what he just left, the calm is entirely unsettling. A creepy song plays in the background of the familiar yellow hallways.
You in the next level.
He arrives at a room with a red balloon floating near the ceiling. Cute, right? Wrong. It gets sucked upwards and disappears into a solid ceiling tile, popping with no explanation. The player then comes across a party, and here comes the birthday
Oh, hell no.
boy.
Run, man. Now you gotta
This
run.
is our first glimpse at the party goer. A highly intelligent and complex bipedal creature who lurks in the back rooms, hunting his prey, and this time, he's found it. Number 20.
I read that they'll be friendly with you at first as you party with them, but in time they will turn you into a human cup.
T3, Becoming the Backrooms. While in most of these videos, the player seems to always be someone who fell into the backrooms. This player experiences an even creepier existence in the liminal space. He becomes it. Published by Unicorn Hunter CG in February of 2022. This backroom comes from the Blue Pill Project 2056. As the player makes his way up the steps of a fluorescent yellow maze of hallways and rooms, the lights flicker and he hears a distant roar.
Oh, you gotta run. Don't even look around. Just run, man.
He then starts hearing a phone ringing.
No, leave it alone. Yeah, leave it alone. Just
As
run.
he continues through the maze, the ringing starts to warp. The phone is dying. It eventually fades away. Turning a corner, he faces down his first monster. The extraterrestrial figure charges him, but he manages to flee to safety.
That's your own fault, man. Be glad it's only one of them.
Well, as safe as you can get in the back rooms. As he feels at ease for a moment, he soon realizes he shouldn't. The extraterrestrial seems to be moving in slow motion while he runs at a normal speed. Still, it keeps up with him somehow. After losing the predator again, the player continues, but the light dims and roaring is heard. The sound of wind whips through as things become visually disturbed. It seems like the player dips into another dimension. The phone begins ringing again, and he looks at his hands and discovers that he's become the Backrooms.
Nah.
Number 22, SLAC Laboratories. While some players appear to fall into the Backrooms without intending to, others seem to look for them. Published by Cupdead. This found footage is dated January 17th, 1994. At the beginning, there is a disclaimer to discard the video if the viewer has no affiliation with SLAC Laboratories. The scary video begins in darkness. After a moment, the player lands in the Backrooms, and he says over his radio that it worked, but he seems to have lost contact with his team.
Hey guys! It worked. I'm in point B now. Hey, is anyone there?
After wandering through the yellow nightmare for a while, something unsettling seems to be happening to the player. But we as the viewers don't know what. It's like he is being dragged somewhere, but it's unclear by what.
I'm not being dragged.
We only catch a glimpse of this figure. I'm not sure what happens to the player, but the next time he's conscious, we find him here. Later, when he reaches this door, it's RIP to our eardrums.
Oh.
What is making that sound? Is it an insect swarm? A powerful air duct? The player continues on and arrives at this mysterious space. He starts to hear monstrous noises, but he can't see where it's coming from.
Run! It's clearly coming from that way. Clearly.
He clips to a dark room with a TV in it. The Channel 7 news is playing, and the reporter says the power went down due to an earthquake. The player enters the hallway and is met with the partygoer, who gives chase. Just when you think the player lost him, this happens. Is there a way out of this room? I think this video shows that if you are looking for the Backrooms, you may regret it. Number 21, the original. This is one of the original Backrooms videos, and in my opinion is what launched the popularity of Backrooms. Many in the comments marvel at how realistic it looks and sounds, with xLilPoppy X12 writing literally frame by frame if you pause. There's not one part that isn't scary or strange. I agree. Let's take a look at this masterpiece. Published by Kane Pixels in January of 2022. This found footage is dated September 23rd, 1996. A student film is being made. As the cameraman backs up for a wide shot, he falls into the Backrooms. The lights, the yellow walls, the maze-like atmosphere is instantly disconcerting. The cameraman doesn't know where he is. Wandering through, he sees through a crack in the wall that this liminal space is endless. After climbing up a ladder and crawling through a crawl space, he comes upon more of the same, but then he arrives at some arrows. Where will they lead? To this face drawn on a wall. It tells him to stay still, but he shouldn't listen. Fleeing from the roaring monster that is given chase, he seems to be gaining ground.
You gotta find the exit, man.
As the roaring becomes more distant, but he turns to find the monster isn't far behind. He arrives at a room with a hole in the ground. His choices are to face off with the monster or jump into the unknown. He chooses the latter. After diving in, he arrives at a staircase. It leads him to this window, revealing that this space has countless rooms. He starts to hear a heavy breathing sound like something from an enormous beast.
Just run, man. You just gotta run. Nope, just run. Nope, leave it alone. Run. Don't look around, run.
The breathing ends and all he can hear is his footsteps. Exiting through a warehouse door, he arrives back in the yellow halls, and he soon finds himself another monster's prey. The mechanical monster follows, wailing and moaning.
I will run.
Led to another shoot dead end, the player has another choice to make, but before he dies...
Oh, shit!
Falling through space and time and back to Earth. I wonder if the player survived. As some note in the comments, it looked like he was grabbed, not pushed. Did he live? Perhaps only his camera did. Number 20.
So far, the only exit I've seen online for this is you find let's say a door or a staircase that is illuminated by a bright yellow light. So far, that's the only exit I've ever heard of.
20, just out of sight. This video is not about what you see, but rather about what you don't. Published by Molten Studios in March of 2022, the player plops into the maze and starts his journey through the back rooms. Everything looks the same, so you can easily get lost here. After traveling without incident for a while, this crazy creature comes at him. You can't really see too distinctly what this monster is. It is tall like Gumby, and its movements are disconcertingly rapid. Racing through the maze, the player turns around and sees the Gumby-like creature out of the corner of his eye. The video ends with this monster hiding just around a corner. The art of this particular video lies in the short glimpses of the silent fear at hand. Number 19, Wormling Picking. A sense of urgency heads off the beginning of this backroom found footage. Published by TV Orange Man in March of 2022, the player is running, and soon you'll see why. This spider is a little different than others we've seen. It's an albino spider for one thing, and it won't let up. After losing the live spider, the player comes across another, but this one isn't a threat. And then, something we've never seen in the backrooms before, another person. The man who walks in is wearing a Union Jack cap, an orange full-face balaclava, and sunglasses. The man walks or struts toward the spider and starts collecting something off of it. Whatever he's collecting is apparently valuable, but it's unclear what that is. A close-up of the creature shows some sort of growth protruding from its skin that seems itself alive. The man warns the player not to touch and explains that they're wormlings, and they have an ecosystem.
Oh yeah, there is other people in the back room. The MEG has a base there called Alpha Base
system in the back rooms. Probably one of the creepiest things we've yet to see come to life back here.
Hey, don't touch them! If it bites a human, you'll forget your own name.
Wait, really? What are those things?
Wormlings. Little buggers have a whole ecosystem down here.
But like many in the comments, I definitely keep close to the Orange Man, especially with that walk. Number 18, Warped time. Well, some in the comments find the pool area of this video the most terrifying. The lost sense of time is what's giving me nightmares. Published by Frag2, this found footage is dated March 21st, 1996. We enter a back room with geometric pattern carpet. There's nothing at all until the player sees this office chair at the end of the hallway. It launches toward him like the place is haunted. The player then arrives at this dark enclave. If you look closely, there's a vague shadow in the darkness, and when he flicks on his flashlight, we see to what that shadow belongs.
Oh, yeah.
After the moth takes flight, the player clips to another hallway and arrives at a lifeless extraterrestrial.
So those giant moths, the females, they are hostile as shit, and they will fuck you up. But the males are docile. They won't attack. They fine as long as you don't aggravate them or do some shit to provoke them.
You can hear the flies buzzing around it. He seems to have found the ID of the individual, but the man's identity is unclear. Some say the date of birth reads 2047, while another date below reads 2074. Does this imply that the back rooms exist outside of time? Later, we hear screaming from floors below. Are we hearing the live version of that thing's fate?
Now that's someone else dying.
Finally, we arrive in the pool rooms, which spiral downwards deep into the unknown. And
No,
as
don't
it
do
turns
that.
out, I don't want to know what's
Oh,
down
shit, don't do
there.
that.
Number
Run.
17,
Nope.
glitched into back room. This creepy back room's found footage begins at an ancient stone tomb-like structure on a murky mound. Published by Rain G, this footage is dated October 21st, 1993. The player arrives at the door and somehow falls into the back rooms, an endless series of doorways and hallways that all look the same. In the first room, there is a figure just around the corner, but the player doesn't seem to see it. He hears a distinct click down the next hallway that leads to a brightly lit doorway. Upon entering, he sees the figure and approaches it.
Don't do
It
that.
seems to be wearing a gas mask and protective gear. Is it even still alive? The player sees another figure pass. He is dressed much the same as the first, and then he sees another. I feel that these figures are the creepiest part about this particular found footage because they seem human, but are they friend or foe? This one is definitely the latter. After being backed out of the hallways, the player finds himself in this mysterious tunnel. It leads to this. What is this giant man monster?
Cap. That's from Attack on the Titans. That's Cap. Look at it.
He runs off before finding out and winds up back in the rat maze, one that he'd sooner rather leave. Number 16, from the ceiling. This backroom's found footage is brief, but what it lacks in length is made up for by its terrifying creature. Published by EFU in March of 2022, this short clip of found footage seeks where all these entities are hiding. After rounding a corner, the player sees an entity disappear into the ceiling tile above. It then pounds on the roof, and as the player looks around,
Oh, it's gonna grab you. It's gonna grab you.
a large hand reaches down from the ceiling. Is that the end of our dear player? Only this alien demon knows. Number 15. Moving wall. What makes this backroom's found footage special is that it uses the environment more than anything to creep you out. Published by Milhail Rischi in March of 2022, the player lands in the backrooms, which look like a car park or a warehouse. Darkness falls and he turns a corner to see the Smiler.
Oh yeah, you gotta stay with them. Nope. Oh, he's after you. Oh no, shit. Keep
The
running.
Smiler chases him until the player exits into this eerie hallway. After wandering
Run it.
through,
Just run.
one darkened hallway rushes to close in on him.
Run.
Pushed out of the way, he continues and opens the door to the upside down world, after which he crashes through the floor. He appears to be beneath the floorboards, which I feel is the scariest part of the video. Especially when he arrives at this red glow and the shadow figures surround him. He races out of there, but something follows.
Yeah,
He
keep
is
running.
walking a narrow wooden beam and he doesn't have the balance. Back in the pool room, he wipes away the water from his camera. He may have escaped the shadow figures, but will he escape whatever is in the water? Who knows what might happen in the liminal space of the back rooms. Number 14, Entity Chase. Another entity gives chase in this scary Backrooms found footage. Published by Dinnerbone777, the video kicks off in a high contrast white room. Player exits through a door and is falling alongside pieces of paper. Landing in the back rooms, he searches the hallways and suddenly is hit by a blast.
Shit. Something just threw something at you.
When he clips back in, he runs to hide, and we see what possibly hit him. The form of this entity isn't like any other, but it's bat-like in movement. After it flies past, the player enters through an air shaft in the wall, and after crawling through, sees this small black item on the ground. It kind of looks like a toy car. In a moment, it is snatched by the entity, which close up looks like a cape with nobody wearing it. I feel like this video is especially creepy because the monster is unlike anything we've yet seen and unlike any known form to man. Number 13, Game Over. This video is especially creepy due to the spider's grand entrance. Published by Frag2, this Backrooms takes us on a tour of a couple of common haunts in the liminal spaces. First, the pool house, then the lobby. After waiting through the pool house for a while, the player arrives at a ladder, leading upward indefinitely, but it isn't indefinite. After reaching the top, he arrives at a shaft that again looks endless. Sliding down the shaft, he enters the lobby, and this is where things get interesting. A tile in the ceiling opens up and out falls this mechanical spider. The player starts running, but you can hear the many legs following closely.
Run. Oh, why are you looking back? No, run.
The spider loses its prey, and the sound of its multiple legs disappears into the distance. But that's not the only monster within. After entering into another series of hallways through a push door, the player rounds a corner and spots this. Unfortunately, the figure spots him too, and it seems it's game over for the player.
How would you fall? Bitches be tripping. Bitches be tripping.
Number 12, Partygoer's Party. The partygoer's movements in this back room turns this video's creep factor up to 1000%. Published by Dr. Doggo in March of 2022. This footage was recovered from a camera in the middle of the woods and is believed to be tied to a missing persons incident. Rounding the corner, the partygoer is still standing with his red balloon at the end of the hallway. He is still at first, then in rapid movements, he is now too close for comfort. The player leaves and is looking at dead ends. He turns again and there's the partygoer right beside him. The player is thrown on his back, partygoer above him. The player screams in agony as he becomes a partygoer himself. Looks like there's no escape. Number 11, Body. Red stains on the wall, a body covered with a sheet. Something very bad happened here. Published by Big Prism in March of 2022, the player finds himself in the yellow hallways with an irritating humming noise bouncing through the maze. He turns a corner to find this, Red liquid splattered on the wall.
Oh, stay away from me. No. No. Run.
As the player approaches, he sees the splatter is almost perfectly symmetrical. And even creepier, there's a body on the ground in its midst. What happened here? And will it soon happen to the player too? I feel like the scariest part of this video is the split second at the end. Look closely. A tentacle-like arm appears around the corner. Did you catch that? I hope it didn't catch him. Number 10.
Clearly did.
Stairs without exit. Ruby Kyle 3.0's comment sums up my thoughts about this video. In less than a minute, this video managed to cause me more anxiety and fear than 99% of all the scary films I've ever seen. Published by EFU in March of 2022, the player enters this backrooms through a dark hallway. Arriving at a staircase, he decides to head upward. Looking down, you see the staircase never ends. Looking forward, you see random steps are missing. While the player may be considering which direction to go, what he sees below him is enough to persuade him to move forward. The thing chases him and is gaining ground. As it closes in, the player finds he has no exit. And anyway, he has no time. The creature is here.
Just keep going up. Go up. No. Keep going up.
Number 9. Code Orange. The Orange Man may just be the hero of the Backrooms. Published by TV Orange Man in March of 2022. The player arrives in the Backrooms and is immediately admonished by the Orange Man, who warns of the dangers of the place.
What are you doing here? Do you know where you even are? This place is dangerous. There's things that can crush you in an instant.
But his warning comes too little too late.
Oh, no.
Did the Orange Man just save the player's life?
Can crush you in an instant. Go off!
He lands back in reality, and I imagine he'll never dare enter the Backrooms again. Number 8. The Fall. This video is particularly intriguing because this player lived to tell the tale. Published by Pac-Man in February of 2022, the player takes a few steps forward in his bedroom and then falls into the Backrooms.
How?
After wandering through without an encounter, he clips out and falls from the sky.
No, Cap. This footage was from the other guy who they said another thing pushed him down the hole. Nah, Cap, this is the exact same footage. No.
After falling back down to Earth, the uploader claims to have survived. If that's the case, then I would suggest not testing his luck again anytime soon. After surviving this, that luck has all run out. Number 7. The Mall. Wanderer J7 documents this exploration through level 37. While this one doesn't have any entities or jump scares, what I appreciate about this video is the incredible attention to detail in the construction, the texture, and the sound of these backrooms. Published by Matt Studios in April of 2022. We enter an enormous pool room. After wading through the water for a time, the player arrives at a darkened stairwell. Climbing it, he enters another pool room, this one with red tiles. He enters into the darkness, still walking through the water. He arrives at a dark shaft, which he enters, and after crawling through is faced with a spiral stairway out of the water. What lies above, we'll have to wait and see.
No. Don't do that. Bro, don't.
Number
The smile is
6,
on that
elongated. Although most of this monster's features are indistinct, a couple do stand out. published by Original Jensen in April of 2022, we walk through the backrooms with the player who seems to be wearing heels. After making his way through without incident, he hears this sound. That's definitely an extraterrestrial, but is it? The elongated limbs of this monster are what makes this video especially creepy. It seems like it can stand at any distance and still reach you, meaning you cannot escape. Number 5, The Shadow. This scary video plays with light and shadow so well that the tension escalates tenfold. Published by GeoNosy S in February of 2022. A player has entered the liminal stairs, and now the fun begins. He enters a slate white room with basic shelves and cupboards inside. There appears to be a security camera on the ceiling. When he enters and turns, facing a darkened corridor, light and shadow play back and forth. The shadow wins out, sending the backrooms into darkness. Now you can only see a flicker of light at the doorway. Entering the room, the light on the ceiling flicks on and off. Screaming is heard out of sight. And then this horrid sound. Is this what was causing the screaming? It sure looks that way to me. Number 4, Smiler Chase. We enter this backrooms to some mysterious white noise static. Published by Ground Dweller in March of 2022. The camera for this found footage was discovered in pieces, and some of the audio and video were unrecoverable by the staff. The player enters a hallway. All the lights are on above, while 2 darkened doorways lie at either end. He turns around and sees this. Here, the video is corrupted. As the Smiler gives chase, all you can hear is the player's rapid breathing and footsteps. When the video returns, he seems to have lost the Smiler. Or maybe I spoke too soon. The growth of that arm like a tree limb is especially creepy. And then that smile. I think the Smiler stole this player's smile forever.
Bro, you need to run. Keep running.
Number 3, Clipped. This short backrooms found footage is short for a reason. Published by ScrapX Gaming in March of 2022. We only experience a brief moment in this player's experience, because before we make it a step further, this happens. Hearing the sound before you see the monster makes this one much more terrifying, I think.
Cat.
That's in the monster's gaping mouth.
Nope. Nah.
Number
that
2,
was cat.
Growing from the walls. This backrooms gives a specific location recommendation for clipping. Published by Frag2. We arrive at that location to find a bag. The player seems to test the ground with his foot, and in the next second he is falling through the air. He arrives here. The dim light and carpet pattern adds to the disturbing nature of this backrooms. After wandering around the maze, he turns a corner and you can see from the side that something is growing on the wall. He faces it and shines his flashlight. The rigid, 3-dimensional substance appears gooey. And even creepier, a face protrudes from the center. This one will stick with me. A closer look at the face makes it look like something tried to escape. Now the figure is forever entombed there. Will the player experience the same fate? That is seeming more likely by the second.
Why are you staring at that? Just run, man. Your whole objective is to get the fuck out of here.
Number 1, First Contact. Kane Pixels sets the bar for Backrooms found footage files again with his stellar work. Some in the comments call his version the canon and a masterpiece, and I couldn't agree more. Published by Kane Pixels in January of 2022, this found footage is dated October 17th, 1989. Test number 6 sees various machines whirring. For what purpose, I'm not entirely sure. Rooms are shown throughout the back rooms, all with devices that seem to be functional. Some type of engine starts up in one of the rooms. A door appears to melt away, the lights are bursting and a fire erupts as the ceiling falls in. I hear voices. Someone is being told to turn it off and shut it down, and then they see something.
Turn it off and shut it down now. Wait. There's something there. There's an obstruction.
After the meltdown ends, the backrooms begin. Backrooms
are fucked up. But hey, if you guys did enjoy this video, leave it a like. I'll leave a link to the video and a link to Chill's channel down in the description below. Please don't forget to subscribe and tick that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.